My sister gave our parents an expensive car to maintain her perfect daughter reputation, but sent me an invoice for payment. So I refused to play her games, and now she's calling me in a panic because the bank wants. I'm Sharon, and I've always tried to be the responsible one in the family. At 28, I built a decent career, live in a nice rental apartment, and try to make sensible decisions. My sister Kate, who's 2 years younger than me, well, let's just say, we're very different people. Growing up, it wasn't easy being the older sister. My parents always seemed to find fault with everything I did, while Kate could do no wrong. When I got straight A's in high school, they'd say that's expected. But when Kate got BS, they'd throw her a celebration dinner. When I started my first job at a local cafe at 16, they criticized me for not focusing enough on school. But when Kate spent her summers lounging by the pool, they'd say she needed her rest. So when our parents' 30th wedding anniversary was approaching, I was determined to give them something special. Mom had always dreamed of visiting Italy. She'd spend hours watching Italian cooking shows, trying to recreate the recipes, and talking about the beautiful architecture and rich history. I knew it would be the perfect gift, a fully paid trip to Italy, staying at a luxury hotel, with guided tours and everything included. I was finishing up the booking details when my phone rang. It was Kate. "Hey sis," she chirped in that fake sweet voice she uses when she wants something. "So, what are you getting Mom and Dad for their anniversary?" I hesitated for a moment, but decided to be honest. I've arranged a trip to Italy for them. Mom's always wanted to go, and, oh my God, Kate cut me off with a laugh. "You're so predictable. I knew you'd do something boring like that." "What are you getting them?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Oh, it's a secret," she said smugly. "But trust me, they're going to absolutely love it, way more than some boring old trip." And with that, she hung up. I just shook my head. Kate had always been like this. Always trying to make a spectacle of everything. People who didn't know her well thought she was so interesting and unique. But I knew better. Behind all the grand gestures and dramatic flourishes, there wasn't much substance. The day of the anniversary arrived, and I carefully packed the plane tickets in a beautiful little box before taking a taxi to the restaurant. When I got there, the place was already buzzing with relatives and family friends. I made my way through the crowd, hugging Mom and Dad, while Kate flitted around the restaurant like a hyperactive butterfly, pretending she was in charge of organizing everything. "The appetizers need to go on that table," she was telling a confused-looking waiter, even though Mom had already arranged everything perfectly. I rolled my eyes but kept quiet. That was another thing about Kate. She always had to make everything about her, even our parents' anniversary. The guests started taking their seats, and the gift-giving began. I waited patiently as relatives and friends gave their presents and made speeches. Mom and Dad were beaming, tears in their eyes as they listened to everyone's kind words. Finally, I stood up, ready to present my gift and say a few words I'd carefully prepared. But before I could open my mouth, Kate jumped up. "Everyone, please look outside," she announced dramatically. The whole restaurant turned to the windows, and there it was, a brand new red Audi A6, complete with an enormous bow on top. My stomach dropped as Kate made her grand announcement. "Mom, Dad," she said, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent restaurant. "You deserve nothing but the best. This is my gift to you." The restaurant erupted in gasps and applause. Mom and Dad burst into tears, throwing their arms around Kate. "Oh, sweetie, it's incredible," Mom sobbed. "We can't believe you did this." Everyone rushed outside to take pictures with the car. I stood in the doorway, clutching my little gift box, feeling smaller by the second. After what felt like forever, people started filing back inside for dinner. I cleared my throat. "I also have something for you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady as I handed over my gift. Mom and Dad opened the box, barely glancing at the tickets. "Oh, thank you, Sharon," Dad said flatly. "Well, my gift was obviously much more expensive and useful," Kate announced loudly. "I mean, a car versus a vacation? No comparison." Instead of scolding her for being rude, our parents just smiled and suggested everyone start eating. Throughout dinner, all I could hear was Mom and Dad gushing about what an amazing, generous daughter Kate was. I pushed my food around my plate, feeling invisible. After an hour I couldn't take it anymore. I made up an excuse about work and left. Nobody even noticed. 2 weeks passed, and I threw myself into work, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. Anything to keep my mind off how hurt I felt. But then one ordinary Tuesday afternoon, an email popped up in my work inbox that made my blood run cold. It was from Kate, and attached was a bill for $60,000, the cost of the Audi A6 she'd given our parents. At first, I thought it must be some kind of mistake. Maybe she sent it to me by accident? But deep down, I knew better. This had Kate written all over it. My hands were shaking as I dialed her number. She picked up on the first ring, as if she'd been waiting for my call. "What is this bill about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. "Oh, that," Kate replied, sounding absolutely casual, like we were discussing the weather. "Yeah. So I got the car on credit, and I don't have the money to pay for it, so you need to take care of it." I nearly dropped my phone. "Are you serious right now? You bought a car you couldn't afford, made this huge show of giving it to Mom and Dad, and now you expect me to pay for it?" "Exactly," she chirped. "You got it. Have you lost your mind?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You strutted around that restaurant like some big shot, made me look like a cheapskate in front of everyone, and now you want me to foot the bill for your gift?" "Don't be so dramatic, Sharon," Kate said, her voice taking on that condescending tone I knew so well. "It's just money. You have a good job. You can afford it." "No," I said firmly, "absolutely not. This is your mess, Kate. You clean it up." I hung up before she could respond. The call started immediately. Every few minutes my phone would light up with Kate's name. When I didn't answer, the texts began flooding in. "You're so selfish. I can't believe you'd do this to your own sister. Please, Sharon, I'm begging you. The bank is breathing down my neck. You've always been jealous of me, haven't you? Mom and Dad will be so disappointed in you." I turned my phone off and tried to focus on work, but it was impossible. By the time I left the office that evening, I had over 50 missed calls and nearly 100 text messages from Kate. But the real surprise was waiting for me at my apartment building. There was Kate, sitting on the steps, mascara streaked down her face from crying. She jumped up as soon as she saw me. Finally, she shrieked. "I've been waiting here for 2 hours. How could you ignore me like this?" I tried to walk past her, but she grabbed my arm. "Sharon, please, you have to help me. The bank wants the first payment, and I don't have it. I don't have any of it." "Maybe you should have thought about that before buying a car you couldn't afford," I said, pulling my arm free. "Did you think about the payments at all when you were showing off at the restaurant?" She started crying harder, but for once, her tears didn't move me. I'd seen this act too many times before. "Instead of standing here crying, you should be figuring out how to pay for the car you bought," I told her. "This isn't my problem, Kate, it's yours." She screamed in frustration and stormed off, leaving me finally able to enter my building in peace. But I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next day, as I was finishing up at work, my phone rang. This time it was Mom, and her voice was stern. "Sharon, we need to have a serious talk. Come to the house after work." I could already guess what this was about, but I went anyway. When I arrived, the scene was exactly as I'd expected. Mom and Dad sitting in their usual spots in the living room, looking grave, while Kate sat between them, playing the role of the victim to perfection. "Your sister told us everything," Dad began, his voice heavy with disappointment. "We don't understand why you're refusing to help her." I looked at each of their faces in turn, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious? Kate buys a car she can't afford, makes this huge show of giving it to you, and now I'm the bad guy for not wanting to pay for it?" "Family helps family," Mom said firmly, as if she was quoting some universal truth. "Kate made a mistake, but a mistake?" I interrupted. "A mistake is buying the wrong size shoes. This was calculated. She knew exactly what she was doing when she upstaged my gift and made me look bad in front of everyone." "Don't be so dramatic," Kate sniffled. "The bank keeps calling me. They want the first payment now." "That tends to happen when you take out a loan," I said dryly. "Did you think they were just giving away cars for free?" Mom stood up then, and what she did next knocked the wind out of me. She walked to her purse, pulled out the tickets to Italy I'd given them, and thrust them at me. "We don't want gifts from someone who could be so cruel to their own sister," she said coldly. "Cancel everything and give us the refund. We'll give the money to Kate for the car payments." I stared at the tickets in my hand, feeling like I'd been slapped. "So you're rejecting my gift? The one I spent months planning because I knew how much Mom always wanted to see Italy?" "Yes," Dad said firmly. "Until you do the right thing and help your sister." The familiar urge to argue, to defend myself, to make them understand rose up in my throat. But something stopped me. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was clarity, or maybe, for the first time in my life, I realized that nothing I said would ever change their minds. So instead of arguing, I simply stood up, placed the tickets carefully in my bag, and looked at my family one last time. Mom and Dad sat there expectantly, probably waiting for me to break down and agree to their demands. Kate watched me with that familiar smug look, assuming she'd won again. "I'll take care of the tickets," I said quietly, my voice betraying nothing of what I was thinking. Not a hint of the plan already forming in my mind. "Good," Mom said firmly. "Let us know when you have the refund." As I drove home that night, my mind was already working through the details of what I would do next. They thought they knew me so well, predictable, reliable Sharon, who always did what was expected of her. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Back in my apartment, I sat at my kitchen table until 3 in the morning, staring at those tickets to Italy. All those hours I'd spent planning the perfect trip, researching the most beautiful hotel in Rome with a view of the Colosseum, arranging private cooking classes in Florence, scheduling wine tastings in Tuscany. I'd even arranged for a local guide to take them to hidden restaurants that tourists never find. It was supposed to be Mom's dream come true. Now it would be something else entirely. When the sun came up, I hadn't slept a wink, but my mind was crystal clear. I called the travel agency the moment they opened. "Hi, I need to cancel a vacation package to Italy," I said, my voice steady. "Everything, flights, hotel, tours, all of it." The agent was very understanding and processed everything quickly. Within an hour, I had confirmation that the full refund would be deposited into my account within 3 to 5 business days. I moved it to a separate savings account as soon as it arrived. Not a penny would go to paying for Kate's car. I was making coffee when my phone rang. Mom's name flashed on the screen. "Have you gotten the refund yet?" she demanded without preamble. I took a slow sip of coffee before answering. "Yes, I've canceled everything." "Good. Transfer it to me right away. Kate needs to make the first payment by Friday." "No." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "What did you just say?" Mom's voice had that dangerous edge I remembered from childhood. I said, "No, I'm not giving you the money." "How dare you?" she exploded. "You selfish, greedy girl. After everything we've done for you, your sister is drowning in debt. And you're sitting there counting your money like some sort of miser." "Kate chose to buy a car she couldn't afford," I said calmly. "That's not my problem. You're irresponsible. You're heartless. You've always been jealous of your sister. I can't believe I raised such a selfish child." I ended the call mid-rant and blocked her number. Then I blocked Kate's number too, for good measure. The next morning, I woke up to my social media notifications exploding. Mom had posted a long message on Facebook. "With a heavy heart, I need to share something that's breaking my family apart. My oldest daughter Sharon has shown her true colors. When her beloved sister Kate found herself in difficult circumstances and needed help, Sharon turned her back on family. She's hoarding money while watching her sister suffer." I never thought I'd have to make something like this public. But I'm at my wit's end. My youngest daughter is facing such hardship, and her own sister refuses to help. Please pray for Kate during this difficult time, and pray that Sharon's heart softens. The comment section was a dumpster fire. I can't believe anyone could be so cruel to their own sister. Family should always come first. I always thought Sharon seemed stuck up. What kind of person abandons family in their time of need? I read through every single comment, my blood pressure rising with each one. The narrative Mom had crafted was masterful in its manipulation. Poor Kate, the victim of circumstance, and me, the heartless villain hoarding my wealth while she suffered. That's when something inside me snapped. Years of being the family scapegoat, of watching Kate get away with everything while I was criticized for breathing wrong, it all came to a head. I opened my laptop and started typing. Since my mother has chosen to make private family matters public, let me share the full story that she conveniently left out of her post. At my parents' 30th anniversary celebration, I gave them a fully paid luxury trip to Italy, something my mother had always dreamed of. My sister Kate showed up with a brand new Audi A6, making a grand show of presenting it as her gift. What nobody knew was that she had bought it on credit with no means to pay for it. 2 weeks later, she demanded that I pay the $60,000 bill for the car. Yes, you read that right. She wanted me to pay for her gift. When I refused, my parents sided with her. They returned my gift and demanded I give them the refund money to pay for the car that Kate bought just to show off and upstage me at their anniversary. Don't believe me? Here are the receipts. I attached screenshots of everything: Kate's email with the $60,000 car bill, her text messages demanding I pay for it, her threats when I refused, my parents' messages demanding I give them the refund money, Mom's voicemail calling me selfish and irresponsible, the complete trail of manipulation and emotional blackmail. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The tide of public opinion turned so fast it gave me whiplash. Oh my God. She bought a car she couldn't afford just to show up her sister? What kind of person demands their sister pay for their gift to someone else? Those poor parents, my foot, they're enabling this spoiled brat. Sharon, honey, I am so sorry we jumped to conclusions. Your sister needs professional help. I can't believe your parents returned your thoughtful gift to enable your sister's irresponsible behavior. Within 20 minutes, my Aunt Linda, Mom's best friend since college, commented, "Mary, I love you, but this is shameful behavior. You've always let Kate get away with murder while holding Sharon to impossible standards." I bit my tongue for years, but not anymore. The comments kept flowing in, each one more supportive than the last. People began sharing stories of their own experiences with entitled siblings and enabling parents. My post had touched a nerve. 15 minutes later, Mom's original post disappeared. She sent me a text from a different number. "How dare you air our dirty laundry in public?" I couldn't help but laugh at the irony as I blocked that number too. In the weeks that followed the social media showdown, the family split into two distinct camps. My cousin Rachel called to tell me that a massive argument had broken out in our extended family group chat, with most relatives firmly on my side. She kept me updated on all the drama I was missing by blocking everyone. But the most interesting news came from my Uncle Steve, who still talked to both sides of the family. He told me that my parents had been forced to dip into their retirement savings to make the payments on Kate's car. They'd apparently tried to return it to the dealership, but the contract Kate signed had no return clause. "Your dad had to pull $30,000 from his 401k, Uncle Steve said during one of our weekly phone calls. "They're trying to keep it quiet, but they had to pay the penalties for early withdrawal and everything. Your mom's furious about it, but here's the kicker: they're still blaming you." "Of course they are," I said, feeling oddly detached from it all. "How's Kate handling it?" "Oh, she's playing the victim card for all it's worth. Keeps telling everyone how traumatized she is by your betrayal and how she never thought her own sister would destroy the family like this. But nobody's buying it anymore." Your post opened a lot of people's eyes. The fallout wasn't limited to just our family. Kate's carefully cultivated image as the fun, spontaneous sister who lived life to the fullest had taken a serious hit. Several of her friends reached out to me privately to share similar stories of her grand gestures that always seemed to end with someone else footing the bill. "She threw this huge surprise birthday party for me last year," her college roommate Sarah confided. "Rented out a whole restaurant, ordered expensive champagne, had a live band, everything. Then 2 weeks later she started hinting that since it was my party I should help pay for it. I ended up covering most of the cost because she guilted me into it. I thought I was the only one she did this to." My parents, meanwhile, were getting a taste of their own medicine. Their friends, who had watched them favor Kate and criticize me for years, were finally speaking up. Mom's friend since high school, Janet, apparently confronted her at their weekly bridge game. "Your mother tried to defend herself," Uncle Steve reported. "Said they only helped Kate more because she needed it, while you were always so independent." Janet asked her if it ever occurred to them that maybe you had to be independent because they were too busy bailing Kate out to help you. I listened to all these updates with a strange mix of vindication and sadness. Part of me was glad the truth was finally out, but another part mourned the family relationships that would never be the same, not that they had been particularly healthy to begin with. The most surprising development came from my younger cousin Emily, who was starting college in the fall. She called me one evening, sounding nervous. "I wanted to thank you," she said. "For standing up to them, I mean. I've been watching how Aunt Mary and Uncle John treat you and Kate my whole life, and well, I always felt pressure to be more like Kate. You know, flashy and exciting. But seeing you stand your ground made me realize it's okay to be responsible and set boundaries. Mom says you're her new hero." As the family drama played out, I threw myself into planning my Mexico trip. Every evening after work, I researched different destinations and experiences, building an itinerary that was purely for me, not to please anyone else or prove anything to anyone. I decided on a mix of cultural exploration and adventure, starting in Mexico City with its amazing museums and historical sites, then to Oaxaca for its incredible food scene, followed by some time in Tulum for its beaches and cenotes, and finally to Chichen Itza to explore the Mayan ruins. I booked cooking classes, photography tours, and even a few scuba diving lessons. Everything I'd always wanted to do but had put off while trying to be the responsible one. The day before my departure, I received a thick envelope in the mail. Inside was a card signed by over 20 relatives, including Grandma Rose, all wishing me an amazing trip. They'd also included old family photos I'd never seen before, pictures of me as a child, times when I'd achieved something or helped someone, moments my parents had overlooked in their focus on Kate. Aunt Linda had written a note. "We should have spoken up sooner, but we're so proud of you now." I packed those photos in my suitcase along with my new camera and hiking boots. As I was doing my final check of my apartment before heading to the airport, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but I answered anyway. It was my mother. "Sharon," her voice sounded older somehow. "I heard you're going to Mexico." "Yes," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "I'm leaving tomorrow." There was a long pause. "Your father and I have been talking," she continued. "All this with Kate and the car, it's opened our eyes to some things. We're making her go to financial counseling. And well, I know it's too late, but I'm sorry about Italy. You put so much thought into that gift, and we just threw it back in your face." "Yes," I said simply, "you did." Another long pause. "Have a good trip, Sharon. Be safe. And maybe when you get back we could have coffee?" "Just us?" I thought about it for a moment. "Maybe," I said. "I'll let you know when I'm back." After we hung up, I sat on my packed suitcase and let out a long breath. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was something. A crack in the wall, a possibility of change. Whether anything would come of it remained to be seen. The next morning, as my plane took off toward Mexico, I thought about how differently everything had turned out from what I'd planned. I'd wanted to give my parents their dream trip to Italy, and instead ended up taking my own dream trip to Mexico. I'd tried to keep the peace in the family, and ended up causing the biggest upheaval in our family's history. I'd spent my whole life being the reliable, predictable one, and had finally done something completely unexpected. My phone buzzed with a message from Rachel. "Have an amazing time. Can't wait to hear all about it. By the way, Kate's car got repossessed yesterday. Karma's real." I smiled and turned off my phone. Kate's drama, my parents' issues, the family complications, all of it could wait. For the next 2 weeks, I had ancient ruins to explore, beaches to walk, food to taste, and photographs to take. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. And it felt absolutely right.